Okay, so hello everyone and hello Mr. Ruli. My name is Muhammad Rafif Akbar and today I am going to present an argumentative paragraph analysis based on an article I selected from the CL journal. So, the article I chose here is uh, augmenting the quality of Acehnis knowledge-based EFL material through a 4D model, written by Jarjani Usman and Lukman Ibrahim, and also published in the year of 2023. Okay, so based on my article reading of this study, I collaborated with Gemini to generate a strong argumentative paragraph. I am holding the printout of that paragraph right here, and it reads as follows. Integrating localized cultural knowledge into English as a foreign language, or EFL, curricula is not merely a pedagogical preference. It is an ideological and psychological necessity for student development. While traditional curriculum models frequently privilege Western cultural norms under the assumption that target language immersion accelerates acquisition, this specific Eurocentric focus systematically alienates learners by forcing them to navigate unfamiliar lexical and alien conceptual frameworks. Far from the Far from being a mere theoretical ideal, empirical evidence demonstrates that when local Islamic and Acehnis values such as Maulid Nabi, Meuleumak, and Toroyong are systematically woven into supplementary texts using structured frameworks like Thiagarajan's 4D model. The material achieves exceptional validity, 4.04 out of 5.00, and high practicality, 4.40 out of 5.00, among classroom practitioners. Critics might argue that prioritizing regional traditions risks inducing cultural insularism, thereby isolating students from the globalized community. And however, this perspective fundamentally misunderstands the mechanics of identity construction, as establishing a resilient, values driven local identity serves a crucial psychological anchor that prevents a generation from becoming culturally uprooted in a shifting global landscape. Therefore, embedding rather Therefore, embedding local wisdom into language acquisition materials does not narrow a student's horizon. Rather, it provides the exact cognitive security and intrinsic motivation required to confidently engage with the wider world. Now, let us break down the structural scaffolding of this paragraph. An effective argumentative paragraph does not merely summarize, it weaponizes data to defend a specific stance. If you look at this paragraph, the very beginning of the paragraph, the main claim or thesis statement is that integrating local cultural knowledge into EFL materials is an ideological and psychological necessity, not just a minor pedagogical preference. This is debatable stance rather than a simple fact. This paragraph, instead of just listing the author's findings like a passive summary, this paragraph uses the empirical data to actively prove the claim. For example, it highlights how incorporating real Acehnis values like Maulid Nabi and Meuleumak. It also yields an exceptional validity score of 4.34 and a high practicality score of 4.40. This transforms raw number into concrete proof of classroom success. The paragraph also strategically addresses a counter perspective by stating that critics might worry this localized focus induces cultural insularism and isolates students from the global community. It immediately refutes the assumption by explaining that a strong local identity actually serves as a necessary psychological anchor for global navigation. Finally, this paragraph concludes with a clear resolution, which is that embedding local wisdom provides students with the cognitive security and intrinsic motivation required to confidently engage with the wider world. So, beyond its structural framework, this paragraph is highly persuasive because of its strategic and the use of meta discourse. I would like to point out how it balances between interactive and instructional markers. First, let's take a look at interactive meta discourse, which guides the reader through the text. The first example is the parenthetical list, such as Molot Nabi, Meulaumak, and Toroyong, which functions as a code gloss. This helps the reader by explicitly illustrating exactly what abstract local values mean in a real-world classroom context. The second example is the transition word therefore at the very beginning of the final sentence, which serves to signal a logical consequence and transition to the reader directly into the final conclusion. Second, let's examine the instructional meta-discourse, which builds a direct relationship and establishes the rather stance. We see a clear example of a hedge when the text states that Western curriculum models frequently privilege certain norms. Using the word frequently instead of always allows the writer to avoid reckless overgeneralization, keeping the argument academically. Another example here is the phrase fundamentally misunderstands, which acts like a strong booster. It functions to project complete authorial certainty and conviction, leaving no room for the reader to doubt the refutation of the counter argument. Okay, so in conclusion, collaborating with Gemini allowed me to see exactly how professional academic writing balances a rigid structural scaffolding with interpersonal meta-discourse to make a compelling argument. That also concludes my analysis presentation. Thank you for your attention and thank you for your time. Thank you and goodbye.